Okay, yeah, I've started recording. Thanks for reminding me, Lokesh. Okay, so let me just repeat because we lost a bit. So this my workforce comes from the role if you are a human resource specialist. Payroll comes from the role if you are a payroll manager or a payroll administrator. My team comes if you are a line manager. About me comes if you are an employee. There are a few more very important submenus here. If you see the tools, under the tools there are appearance, structures, announcements, then reports and analytics, schedule processes, and security console. So this tools menu comes for everyone. Now inside the tools, whether you will be able to access reports and analytics or schedule processes, that depends if you are a human resource specialist or an IT security manager or an HR analyst. This reports and analytics link by default comes for everyone, but if you are an HR analyst or a line manager, then only you will be able to access the reports and analytics. Now, Oracle applies a default security to this reports and analytics. If you are an HR analyst, you will be able to see the report for everybody. I mean, in your reports, you will be able to see everybody in the company. But if you are a line manager and if you have got this role, then when you run the reports, you will be able to see only your direct reports data in that. Schedule processes are used to run many of the important processes. Yesterday we have run it only for one process, as you have seen. There are a lot of other things for which you need to run this process. When you go for absence management or payroll training, you will come across a lot of processes here. And then we have Spaces. Spaces is like a blog spot of Oracle. If you have something like a white paper that you want to publish for the company, you can add it in the Spaces. Spaces are licensed. You can use this software without license, but if there is any issue and you don't have a license, then Oracle will not give further support. Work list is for your notifications. A work list is just the normal thing that you have in EBs or any other application, that if you are a line manager and you get a leave request to approve, then it comes in your work list. Also, it comes in this bell icon in the landing page. This notification icon is for the work list. And then there is something called structure and appearance. These two we use widely for the rearranging this navigator menu and the landing page icons, and then we use it for changing the logo of the application as well changing the background. And setup and maintenance is the one that is available only to the super users like the HR specialist or the IT security administrator. From here, you can see all the offerings that you are entitled to, and you can change or you can complete your setup from here. Okay, so now for let's talk about this my workforce menu. Now all these names and details that you see under the menu options, you can change all of them. For example, my workforce, if you can just want to rename it to workforce, you can do that as well. That is a part of customization. Now under my workforce, there are a lot of menu options. There is human resources dashboard. Human resources dashboard are used for the reports, mainly for the reports that is used by the HR. As well, there are some seated charts and graphs available which Oracle has given. Data exchange is used for data migration. So people who are using HDL or FPL for migrating the employee data or the assignment data, they should be getting all the options over here. Document records are storing employee documents. Employee documents in the sense like the scanned copies of employees' passport details, employees' visa, and all possible sorts of documents you can store here. Now we can use these documents of records in a different way. I'll discuss that. Mass updates is for doing uh, bulk uploads in the sense bulk changes for the employee data. For example, you have some 100 employees for whom you want to do an assignment change. You can do that from mass update. This option is the same that you used to have in EBs for mass update of employee records. Workforce structures you have already seen. We can create the job locations and position from here. New person is for creating the new employees, and person management is for querying employees and dependents and then making changes to their data. The HR people use this person management almost all the time. Workforce modeling is a different area. It is for doing a projection for your workforce. For example, if you are an HR and if you want to see how many people got promoted last month, and then you want to do a projection of how many people you want to promote next month, and then you can do a model like that and present it to your higher management. Absence administration is for doing absence related setup. You will go through it in your absence session. Profiles is mainly for talent management, where you set up your rating scale and you set up content types. Career development is for your development goal. A lot of companies have got development options, like they create development plans for employees and set goals over there, and the employees need to complete the goals over a certain period of time. Earlier, career development was actually a part of performance management. So there used to be performance goals and development goals. But from release 10 onwards, they have splitted it. They have kept performance management and career development separate. So career development actually holds the same kind of goals like performance management, but on a different page. This next one is goals. Goals is for performance management. You can set your goals from here and get it approved by your manager, which will be used for your performance review. Performance is used for performance management. Talent review is used for talent review meeting. Actually, this talent review, outcome of the talent review feeds into career development. So talent review is used to assess the talent of your enterprise, and then outcome of the review, like which of your employees need what kind of career development, and that thing feeds into the career development module. So these two modules are interlinked. Succession planning is used for the to finding the suitable successors for your enterprise. So many a time there are quite a lot of employees in your company who are extremely valued. So there are questions like, if they leave the company, then who is going to be the probable successor? So using this tool, HR or the managers can plan ahead of time to find the probable successor of a key resource in the company. So we'll go to the new person and we'll see how to create a person or an employee in the system. Now, before creating the employee, you need to do all the prerequisite in the sense you need to create your legal entity, your business unit, and everything related which is required for the employees hiring. Now, this is this page is basically a search page. So you can see on the top there is something called pending worker. Now, since Fusion doesn't have a recruitment module as such, so we cannot have like in EBs we had iRecruitment which gels entirely with the employee database. So you can have applicants there, and then after the entire hiring process you can convert them into employee. Now here we don't have a recruitment module. We have Taleo, which we can integrate with Fusion, but it is not like a real-time integration. We have to wait until we run a process and then we can import them into the Fusion. import those applicants in the Fusion. So in order to get a flavor of having an applicant, they use this pending worker features. So pending workers are like people who have joined your company but has not yet started. Their start date has not yet come. So you can create those people as pending workers, because many a time employee doesn't show up on their day one. So you can discard this pending worker. So they will not be showing in your employee headcount. So if you create the person as an employee, then until the date of joining comes, he still keeps on showing as a future employee in your system. So in order to avoid that, you can create them as a pending worker, and when their date of joining come, you can convert the pending worker into an employee. Okay, so now if you see on the right hand side, you see this task bar, and then there are 4 options. There is hire an employee, add a contingent worker, add a non-worker, add a pending worker. These 4 options are available. Now see the wording difference between these 4. An employee you can hire because the employee is considered as a person who is on your payroll, on the company's payroll. But contingent worker, a non-worker, or a pending worker, you can add, you don't hire. So basically hiring means that somebody who is in your company, who is on your payroll, and who is considered as a part of your headcount. So contingent worker, the terminology is same as we had in EDs. Contingent worker means contractors. Non-worker means the employees who are neither permanent employee nor contractors, but they are in your company either as a beneficiary or as a, let's say, somebody who is a board of director in the company who doesn't get paid, or who is not on a contract either, but is just there in the company. So you can create them as a non-worker. So there are various, these are the different employee type in the system. Now, many a times we create contractors also as an employee. We don't use this add contingent worker feature because we can create them as an employee, and then we can give them a different person type. Like we can create multiple person type in the system. So we can create a contractor person type and hire them as an employee. So we don't, most of the time we don't use these contingent worker option. And add a pending worker is for adding adding an applicant which you can later convert to an employee. So the significance of having this pending worker is that a lot of time you want the employees to have access to the company's website even before they join, so that they can upload their documents and they can go through your induction program. And sometimes you want them to complete some ethics and compliance processes even before they become an employee. Okay, so this is the page that opens for hiring an employee. You can see there are a few train stops on the top. First, you need to provide the identification on the first page, and then his personal information. Personal information consists like address, nationality, and all. Then employment information, which is like which legal entity he belongs to, his business unit, his position, and the remaining stuffs. Roles are there, where you can choose which role he is performing in the company. If you remember from yesterday, we were talking about auto provisioning. If the roles are auto provisioned for the employee and the line managers, then you don't need to do anything over here. Most of the time we don't assign roles from here, because only the roles which are requestable, you can add them from here. Otherwise the role can be either auto provisioned or can be assigned from the identity management. So if you have defined your auto provision correctly, then after creating an employee in this roles train stop, you can see the employee role is automatically assigned. Okay. And now here you need to choose the hire date. Now, if the employee is a future, most of the time it's a future hire because you create the employee information a few days before the employee is actually starting to work with your company. So this could be a future dated date. Now, remember when you do a future hire and then you want to search a person again in the system, you need to change the effective date. The effective date concept that we have in EBs is the same over here. So, and the entire employee data is date tracked, employee and assignment, similar way we have it in EBs. So I hope we all understand that how the date tracking happens. If you need some more explanation on the date tracking, please let me know. I will talk a bit more about that. So this is the hire date. There is a calendar icon next to it. You can choose the date from here. If you notice the date format, this is actually DDMMMYYYY. Now, you can set this date format according to your client's requirement. In the task, in the setup and maintenance, there is a manage date format task, which you can set to get the correct date format here. When you first get the instance, the date format will be in the US format, like the month and the day and the year, like that. So you need to change that specifically for the date to reflect in this format. Now there is an hiring action called hire. If you remember yesterday we have spoken about hire, the action and the action reason. So you can create new actions over here. There are hire reasons. By default, Oracle has given hiring reason called hire to fill a vacant position. If you have other options, other hiring reasons, you can add to the action reason setup over there. So sometimes the hire is to fill a vacant position or to fill a new position. So you can add one more drop down over there. Then you need to choose a legal employer for whom the employee is working. Now, the legal employer necessarily needs to be the company which issues the offer letter to the employee. This legal employer cannot be changed once you create the employee information. So by mistake, if you have put him in the wrong legal entity, either you need to cancel the employee totally from the system or you need to do a global transfer. We will talk about global transfer when we see the assignment changes. So I am hiring him into Francis Solution UAE. You can see a worker number is generated automatically in the system. This is not person number. The person number comes below. So both are generated automatically because we set it like this in the enterprise information. Now there is something called worker type. In the next screen, when we go for employment information, there will be something called person type as well. So there are two things to identify the employee. One is worker type and another is person type. Both are configurable. You can add new values to this list if you want. So as I was talking about that, we don't use add contingent worker most of the time. What we do is we create a new worker type or a new person type for contractor and use them while creating the employee information. So worker is more like you can say it is a superset, and inside that we have the person type. So worker type could be employee and the person type could be like permanent employee, contractors and others like applicants. Now under the personal details, we can see that there is an option to enter the employee name. Now this is something you have to discuss with your client and get to know what format they use. This format is specific to Middle East, where they use this first name, family name, father's name, grandfather's name, and mother's name. Now, there is a setup where you can choose what format you actually want the name to be. So the name, most of the time, even though this is the Middle East format, but the Middle East client, they want the name format to be like first name, middle name, last name. So you can change the format accordingly, and then you need to run a process so that the format reflects here. I will discuss about that process after I complete the employee creation. The title is also a list of values. You can add or you can remove the title, whatever you want. And there is something called enter local name. Enter local name, if you click on this checkbox, it will open up another exactly similar set of name fields where you can choose the local language. So local language is definitely something different from English. So if you have an Arabic name or if you have a Japanese name, you can enter it over here. Now remember that if you want to enter the name in the local script, you need to also have a similar keyboard. So if you want to enter an Arabic name, you have to make sure that your keyboard supports the Arabic scripts. So even if you choose the Arabic name and if you type with an English keyboard, it will show only English name. So many a time in the Middle East, the a client wants to store their employee names in Arabic. So you have to, first you have to install the Arabic language patch, which by default comes with all the Middle East client, this platform on demand or the instance. So the second thing that you need to do is make sure the client is using an Arabic keyboard, and then the Arabic option is enabled before entering the local name. I got a question if it is possible to have a complete Arabic interface. If yes, it is possible. If you noticed that when we were actually logging into the system, there was an option to choose the language. So if you choose that language and if you have the language pack as well and you log in into the instance, entire instance will change. Instead of seeing English field names and English captions, you will see Arabic. Then how do you maintain English and Arabic values? Okay, I got a question that how do we maintain English and Arabic values? List of values will not change. So list of values in the sense, for example, in the gender, you have list of values like male and female. These values will not change, but only the field name, for example, this gender, this field name will become Arabic. You will see the entire screen shifts from left to the right. No, I don't think value set change and name changes. I mean, value set language change is possible here. I can check that about check about it. But we did this thing for CBT in the past. The field things changed, but then the client had to use the Arabic keyboard to get the Arabic scripts. But if they use an English keyboard and then they type, the field content will be in English. I can check more about this because we didn't do it for any other client about the full value set or the fields have being in English. I'll check about this and come back to you. Okay, date of birth Oracle has made mandatory, I think from release 7. Now there is one placeholder called national identifier. This is not mandatory for UAE, but if you are doing an implementation for Saudi Arabia, or if you are hiring a Saudi Arabic national in UAE, this is mandatory because Saudi Arabia has got this civil identifier number. If you don't give that number while hiring the employee, it doesn't allow. So once you have completed this set of information, you can move to the next screen. There is a personal information. So you can give the home address of the employee. If you remember that we spoke about this geography information, hierarchy and validation. So this home address reflects whatever you set in the geography. Now here we have a kind of a flat address structure because we didn't define any geography hierarchy for United Arab Emirates. So whatever you can type anything over here, it will really not ask for a validation. But if you had a validation defined, then it will show that on inside country, it will show the Emirates, and in the Emirates, it will show the list of values like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and all 7 Emirates. Then inside that, it will show the address line 1, PO box. So it will be an entire hierarchy structure. So instead, if you choose United Kingdom, so you can see that if you remember, we defined city or town for United Kingdom. So that will come over here. I'm not sure what went wrong. You can add the phone and email details over here. Now in the email, you can add the personal email as well as the work email here. Now if you have enabled your username format same as your email address, then you mandatorily need to add email details, otherwise it will not let you cross the screen. You can have marital status, ethnicity, religion, highest education level, as well subjects over here. This screen you can configure and you can have additional information, because many a time for the hire new hires or the applicants, you store a few more details other than the whatever is given here. Now there is citizenship and visa information. Here you can capture the nationality of the employee. Most of the time your client wants this information to be mandatory, this nationality information. Also you have to choose the status of the nationality. Passport details, visa details, and contacts information are available here. Contacts are like dependents. What if we have dual nationality? Yes, we got this question. If we can capture dual nationality over here, yes, we can, but not from the screen. So here it will allow you to enter only one nationality. And then once you save this information and the employee is created in the system, then you can go to person management and you can add more than one nationality. There is a list of values of the contacts. You can modify this. You can add new contacts over here, or you can disable the existing contacts as well, because this contact relationships are important because this is related to your benefits. So this contact thing is available for the employee as well to add their contacts from their self-service. So you should be careful about what list of values you are giving them to use. So after you have completed this, you can move to the employment information. That is the most important part of this employee creation. Okay, so this screen has got a lot of information. We'll see from the top. Now there is something called service date. And the service date is important because you can most of the times you acquire subsidiary companies or you merge companies, and you want your employees to have the credit of their service date from the previous company. So something like that we used to have in EVs called adjusted service date, but here it is more specific because You can have a legal employer seniority date and you can have an employer seniority date. Now, there is a difference between the hire date and the seniority date. Hire date is specific to the employer for whom you are being hired, and seniority date is something like if you have a different date from the hire date in the company. So if your employer wants to give you credit of your previous hiring date, so maybe your hire date is 10th June 2016, but your actual hire date in your previous company or your merged company is like 5 years back, so you can put it in the seniority date. There is a seniority date in the enterprise and the seniority date in the legal employer. So in the same enterprise, if you have changed multiple companies, that means you have jumped from one legal employer to another legal employer, then you can put it in the legal employer seniority date. And if it is with the same enterprise, then you can put it in the enterprise seniority date. So basically the difference between hire date and seniority date is, one is your hire date, actual date of start date of this legal employer. Seniority date is your extra, rather the adjusted service date or the extra number of days that you get in your service credit. Now this date or this length of service, this date actually adds to your length of service, which is used when you do your terminal benefits. So when you resign, or when or maybe in some cases, like if you have your seniority date more than your hire date, then it adds up to your annual leave credit as well, because your annual leave may be dependent on your length of service. So the more length of service you have, the more credit of annual leave you have. So if your company policy says that the annual leave or the terminal benefits depends on the seniority date, not on the hire date, then you have to put this database item in your formulas. And also you need to take care of all these things when you do data migration. So when you migrate the employee first time, the hire date and the seniority date are the same. Now if you have a different date, you can specify it during the time of data migration, or you can change it any time later. Now there is something called assignment number. This is the same number that we used to have in EBs, that there was a person number and there was an assignment number. You can specify this number or it gets generated automatically when you create the employee. If you have multiple assignment, then more than one number is generated with a hyphen. You need to choose the business unit under which you need to create the employee. And then there is the person type. There is only one person type at the moment, but you can add more than one person type into the lookup values, so that you can specify which person you are hiring. If you are hiring a contractor under the same worker type of employee, you can add to this list of values. Then there is assignment status. Now the assignment status, the concept of the assignment status remains same as like EBs. So you can define assignment statuses with whether they're eligible for payroll or whether they're active in the HR or inactive in the payroll. So you can, these are the statuses that are given by default by Oracle. If you want, you can add more to the status. So most of the time we get a requirement like we need to add statuses of absconding status or something like a salary on hold status. So all these statuses you can add to this list of values. When you terminate an employee, the status becomes automatically inactive and no payroll. Now, if you have defined the position specific to this business unit, then the position will come over here in the list of values. Okay, so there are a lot of positions here. Now, if you choose one position from this list of values, you will see this job, grade, department, all these things will actually default from the chosen position. Okay, So this position didn't have any valid grade, it had job and department, so these two things defaulted from the position. Now if you want, you can change this information. Now what happens if you change the position definition itself in the future? So for example, this executive sales position has the department of sales Kuwait BU1. Now what if you change this department to something else in the position definition? So Oracle from release 11, they have given a process called position synchronization. So once you change the position definition at the position level and run that process, it will reflect the new department in the employee data. You can give the other information from the grade. Now if you have configured your grade rates correctly, then if you see this small box like icon next to the grade, you will see the salary details, the range details of the employee while hiring. You can add the locations, and next to that location it will show your building number and all the details. Then there is an option for using working at home, yes or no. You can use that the same way it is given, or you can use this field for something else. So there are a lot of fields over here which we not necessarily use for the client. We can use it for something else then. So if you have a different requirement to capture over here, like you want to capture another information for the client which is not similar to working at home, but the list of values are different, then by using screen personalization, you can change this name of this field, and also you can change the list of values at the back end. So you can use this field into something else. Worker category and assignment category, all the stuffs are there. Most of the time we don't use them. We change it to something else and then use it for another requirement. Now, if this position had this full-time, part-time or working hours defined, then all those things would have defaulted from there. If you have defined this, these things, especially the working hours at the enterprise level or the legal employer level, then those also would have defaulted. But since we didn't define anything, so it came up blank at the employee level. You can put whatever you want here. If you have configured your people group, you will see the people group details here. This remains exactly the same what you had in EDs. People group comes up with the segments, and you can put the values over there. Now you can put the manager details over here. When you create the employee for the first time, the line manager default one row comes over here. When you are hiring the employee, if you don't know who is the line manager, then you have to remove this information from here, because this is a mandatory information and it will not let you proceed if you don't enter this manager details here. So using this cross delete symbol, you can delete the line manager information. If you want to add the line manager, it will show the people, all the people of your enterprise over here. Now, if your manager is, if your manager start date is later than your employee start date, then you have, then you cannot enter the information at this point of time. So you have to check. Most of the time that people complain that we cannot see the line manager in the drop down. The reason being that the line manager's date of hire is later than the employee's date of hire. So then if from this screen or the higher screen you cannot create the line manager details, you need to go to person management, change the date to the line manager hire date, and then enter the line manager information. Okay. I got a question that what if the company doesn't follow the supervisor hierarchy? They have the position hierarchy which picks up the manager. That option is missing here. So we do have position defined in the system and we do have position tree, but that doesn't default anything in the manager field. And moreover, there is something called manager type. Now there is this seeded line manager type is there. Now let me talk about this manager option. I got a question that if we can make this line manager field as non-mandatory. We don't need to make it non-mandatory, because if you don't want to enter this, we can just delete it using this delete information. Or what you can do is you can completely hide this manager details section using screen personalization. Then it will not even come up. Now, in Fusion, you can have more than one type of manager. This line manager is given as a seeded thing by Oracle. This line manager is important because this particular terminology, line manager, is kind of mandatory to use in Oracle. If you remember the employee information or the employee about me screen, rather the employee self-service, when the employee logs in, he can see the line manager just below his name. So that line manager has to be this particular list of value. This is seeded given by Oracle, and we cannot change this line manager. We can add another manager, we can add another custom manager of our choice, but this line manager has to be there for showing it up in the employee profile, and it has to be with the name of line manager. We cannot modify this value. But further on, when we go for the employee and the line manager's login, we can see something called org chart. So all those things are actually valid only if we use this manager type of line manager. We can use this add another symbol to add another type of manager, but the line manager has to be only one. So we cannot add multiple line manager. Now we may have different types of manager, like we can have line manager, we can have regional manager, we can have HR manager. All those values we can add, and those values we can add more than one time, but line manager has to be only one. Okay, so I will add one line manager to this employee. You can add the probation and notice period over here. Now remember, once you add probation period, like you may add probation months, like 4 months. So it will automatically populate the probation in it. So during this period, like from the hire date until the probation date, it will not allow you to do any change in the employee's assignment. So this probation and notice period you can actually define also in the position details. So when you add the employee to that position, automatically the probation and the notice period auto-populates. Now in that time, if you want to change anything in the employee details, you have to remove this probation period and do the changes. The assignments will become disabled during the probation period. You can add the payroll details here. And then you can add the salary information. You can choose salary basis, salary amount, everything. And if you have defined your grade rate and salary ranges correctly, you can see the compare ratio and the range position here. Now there is something called other compensation. This is like if you have worked on this incentive compensation or one-time compensation, this feature is the same as that. So if you have something like a joining bonus which you want to award to the employee, you can use this award compensation feature. But remember, you need to do, in order to use this feature, you need to configure your entire compensation module. So you need to configure plans, you need to configure incentive compensation plans and elements accordingly, then only this thing will come into picture. And this is the place where you can see the salary range. We did not give any salary range to this particular salary basis, so that is why only the amount is coming. No max and min is coming over here. You can also see the compa ratio, quartile and quantile. There is one feature called bargaining unit available. Bargaining unit is not so important in the middle list, but if you go to any other legislation, when you work in the public sector, then you can, this is very much important, this bargaining unit. You need to configure the list of values and the collective agreement properly, and if you have to mark if he is a union member or not. And then we have expenses information. This is enabled only when you configure your iExpenses module. So you can assign the default expense account here to the employee. Now, this information that we have in the job section, like position, location, assignment category and all, these are also important in order to use it as a part of your element link creation. So when you create payroll element, you can use this features in the job to configure the element link. So you can create element link only for a particular assignment category like full-time employees, or only for a particular position or location. So it is important to use these features in the element link creation, because if you create a link without any without any criteria, like if you create a link which is available to all the employees, that is not recommended. So what we do is, even for the elements which are available to all the employee, we create a link at the legal employer level or at the payroll level, because whoever, I mean, out of all of you who have worked in payroll, you know that if you create a link which is applicable to everybody, I mean, if you don't specify any criteria while creating the link, you cannot create another link. Like in future, if your requirement changes and you want to have more than one link for the element, you cannot do that. Then you need to edit that common link and then create new links for the element. So mostly we do an element link at the legal employer level, or we use this assignment category like full-time regular to create the links. Now, this is particularly this legal employer that I have chosen while creating the employee. This legal employer is a single assignment model. It's not a single contract, single assignment model. So that is the reason there is no option to enter the contract details over here. So if this model was a single contract, single assignment model, then just below the assignment there would have been a contract details field. In the contract details, you can choose whether it's an unlimited contract or a fixed contract. Contract details are important for middle list because contract is the thing that decides your terminal benefits or your end of service benefits. So in middle list payroll, the contract information and the terminal benefits calculation is seeded. So if you're using middle list payroll, then you don't need to configure that separately. So in Middle East countries, it is mandatory to use one employment model which has got the contract details. So that's why we use the single contract, single assignment model. Okay. Now, in the role screen, you can see that the roles got auto provisioned. The employee role got auto provisioned. I think there was a mistake in the line manager auto provisioning, because a line manager's role should not get auto provisioned like this. It should get auto provision only when if you have a direct report. So if you create an employee and then add a direct report to him, then only the line manager role should get auto provision. I think the auto provision condition for both line manager and employee in this instance is set as same as the employee. That's why both the roles are getting assigned. Now, once you have entered all this information, you can review and submit the information. Your employee will get created in the system, and also you can see what person number the employee will be having. So, it's employee number 37. Okay. So this is the review page. You can review all the information that you have entered so far, and if you are not happy with any of the information, you can go to that particular train stop and edit them. Now if you click submit, then this employee details will get saved in the system. If you want your employee details to go for an approval after creation, then you can configure the approval in the BPM approval management. We'll see that next. Now once the employee has got created, you can go to the person management icon and search for the employee. Now here, this screen is very important, the search screen. In EBS, if you remember, while you go to the responsibility, it will ask you, you can set the option that it will ask you for the effective date over there. Now here, if you want to search for a future dated employee, you can select this effective date and change the value into the future date. Most of the time, if you want to search the terminated employees, you can mark this flag into terminated work relationship. And if you want to search any employee who has been like in the past, terminated in the past, you can either change this effective date to some date like before this termination date, or you can check this include terminated employees checkbox. Now you can search by the person number. You can see the employee has come up in the search results. Here you can search using keywords as well. So keywords has to be full. So keywords are like any part of the person name, like either the first name, middle name, or the last name, but it has to be full word. So if we are searching by the first name employee, we have to give the full employee name. If you are searched by the part of the keywords, it will not come up. Also, you can search by the national ID. In order to search by the name, you have to give the full last name for search. And also you can do an advanced search. So every search screen has got this advanced search option. So where you can give your location, you can search by location, department, or the job. Also, if you are not happy with the search fields over here, if you want more fields, then you can go to advanced search and then add fields. So you can add business unit, country, then position. Most of the time they want to search by this system person type. Yeah, so system person type, in the sense, if you add the system person type, it will allow you to see all the people who are under that particular person type. So if your client wants that kind of a search criteria, then you can do an advanced search and then add the field and then save the particular search criteria. So this screen, this search screen, when you go to the basic search, then it only shows this many, like this many fields for search. Now if you add more fields, then you can save the search criteria also. So if you see here in the saved search, it's all people search, which is this basic search. Now if you want an advanced search, want this advanced search to be available every time your client open this search screen, then you can save this. You can use this save icon and then give a different name and then set it as default. So whenever somebody opens this screen, this advanced search will come. And this particular saving of search criteria, this is specific to the employee login. So if I create a search criteria here and I save it, then it will be available only to my login. Now once you have searched the employee and it has come up in the search results, then you can see this is a hyperlink. The employee name is a hyperlink. Now you can reorder this search result. So if you click on the hyperlink, it will take you to the employee details screen. We'll see the details over there. You will get more options to do on the employee data. But let me explain a few more things over here. Now you can add more columns to this search thing. So at the moment, you can see only name, person number, national ID, department, location, user person type, job, and assignment status is coming. If you want, you can remove some information from here and you can add some more information into the screen. So in order to add, you have to go to view, columns, and then, manage columns. So in the manage column, you can actually do a lift and shift. So you can see there is some hidden columns and there is a visible column. So if you want, you can move some visible column to the left, then it will not be visible anymore. You can do a lift and shift of the column. So if you want the person number to become first instead of the name, you can do that. But it is advised that you keep the name on the first, because name is actually a hyperlink. So person number is not a hyperlink. So when somebody comes into the screen and sees some details, the first thing should be the one that you get as a hyperlink, which leads you to more details. So if you give person number, that is something where the person doesn't necessarily needs to click. And if you want the national ID not to appear on the search, you can move it on the left hand side. If you want system person type to become come up on the search, you can put it on this side. Now again, this lift and shift of the columns are specific to the user's login. So whichever user is doing it on their login, it will be saved on that. Now there is something called actions. If you click on the actions, it will take you to that particular action you want to do on the employee. So for this employee, if you want to see the absence information, you can click on absence, manage absence record. If you see the want to see the payroll details, or you want to make an element entry, you can do there. If you go to personal employment, you can change that information. Personal and employment, this is the option that the HR people will use most of the time on the employee. So under personal employment, there is manage employment and manage person. These are the two things you need to do most of the times. So manage employment is used for doing assignment changes, like if you want to promote the employee or if you want to transfer the employee, you have to use that. we'll go into the details. Now you can see the user account, you can see the work relationship from here. Exactly the same information you will see if you click on the hyperlink of the employee name. So this is what you see when you go to the manage employment or the hyperlink. So it opens up the assignment screen directly because that is where you will be spending most of the time if you are an HR. And if you see on the extreme right hand side of the screen, this links icon is there. Now this is all the options that you can, all the actions that you can do on the employee record. Now there are a lot of options over here. When you do your payroll session and absence session, you will be using this page extensively. Now I will talk only about the assignment actions. So for the assignment, if we think about the employee's life cycle in a company, so after the date of hiring, you can do things like you can change his information. Like if you have entered some details incorrectly here, you can modify it here as well. Now the concept of the correction and updation that we had in EBs is the same here. Now, when we change some employee data, we can do two options. One is edit, one is update, and another is correct. Correction we do if we have done some mistake, basically some mistake, and we are changing the data completely. So correction always happens from the first date or the date of hire of the employee, date of hire or the last effective change date. And update means it will ask you for a new date. So when you choose the update option, it will ask you from which date you want to do the update. So if you talk about employee transfers or employee promotion or assignment changes, then you have to choose the update option, because on the hire date nobody does an assignment change. So if you do a assignment change on the hire date, then it will automatically become a correction mode. So this edit icon is important. So this icon, from this icon you get the options for update, correct, or delete record. The basic features that we had in EBs, that we cannot delete primary assignment or we cannot delete the first row of the employee, that holds the same here. So if you go to delete records, since this is a new employee and we have only one row in the employee record, we cannot delete it. We have a different way. If you really want to delete this employee data, then there is another way. I'll come to that later. So in the edit, we have update and then correct option. So correct is like if you choose correct, it will give you the higher action. Now this is where it actually differs from EBs. Whenever you choose any action, let it be correct or update, it will ask you for a action and action reason. So if you choose correct employment, it will mandatorily give you the higher action because that is the latest action reason on the employee. Now if you choose update, then it will ask you for an effective start date. So since today is the first day of the employee, I have to choose a different date for the update. So I have to choose a future date. Let's say 11 June 2016 is the effective start date, and here it will give me a list of actions. Now this is very important, very much important to understand, because this feature is entirely different from what we used to have in EBs. In EBs we didn't have any of this kind of reason. Here, because everything is audited, so in order to do any change in the employee information, any update in the employee information, you need to give a particular reason. You need to give a valid reason, valid action and a valid reason. Now this list of action is given by Oracle from the best practices or from the usage of the system, like whatever general HR actions is used in most of the companies. If you want, you can remove, you can rename, or you can add more actions. You can see there is assignment change, demotion, end assignment, and probation period. All these things are self-explanatory. If you do assignment change, it will ask you for an action reason. For every action, it will give you an option to add an action reason. Now, if you configure all the action reasons properly, it will come up in the list of values. you can add it. I mean, you can discuss this part with your client, that what kind of assignment changes they have in the enterprise, and then you can modify this list of action and reason. Action is mandatory, action reason is not. But in order to have your reports showing the correct data or data in as much details as possible, you should add some reasons to each of the actions. Now, all of these actions are kind of similar, because assignment change is like changing the employee position, grade, or location details. Similar change happens when you do a job change or a location change or a manager change. So many of the actions are similar in nature. And a lot of the clients, they do assignment change only, and under the assignment change they do position change, location change, manager change, or promotion as well. So you may have assignment change, and under assignment change you can do a promotion as an action reason. So you can play around with these things. The most important, I will talk about the only two actions here, which is quite different from the others. One is global temporary assignment, and another is global transfer. Now, the word global indicates, I mean, this happens only when you do something with the other legal employer. So if you want to transfer your employee from one legal employer to another, then you need to choose any of these two, either global temporary assignment or global transfer. So when you choose global transfer, it allows you to send your employee to a new legal employer. Any other of these actions doesn't allow you to change the legal employer. So global, now how global transfer differs from the global temporary assignment is that in global temporary assignment, you temporarily send your employee to another legal employer for a particular duration. So with the chance that you will call back the employee to his parent legal employer. But in global transfer is like you're transferring the employee permanently. So global transfer will give you an option to end the employment or enter the termination information of this employee here and enter the data in the new legal employer. So that is a difference between global temporary assignment and global transfer. In global transfer, you have to initiate the termination and then complete the changes. Global temporary assignment, you don't need to do that. You can just change the legal employer and enter the details in the new legal employer, and from there onwards you can complete. And global temporary assignment gives you an option to end the assignment and bring the employee back to the original legal employer. So these two options are very important when you are working with multiple country implementation, because when you do a global transfer in the new, if your new legal employer is having an entirely new different salary structure, new grade and everything, then you need to enter all those information in the employee details. Now I will do a simple assignment change, and I will just show you how the screen looks like. Okay. So now you can see that the entire screen has become editable. So you can change the business unit, you can change position, you can change the job, department, everything as a part of the transfer. If as a part of transfer his manager changes, you can add the new manager details over here. So this entire information will be date tracked. So the date that I have chosen, like this effective start date of 11th June, this record will be effective from this particular date. Until 10th June, the old record will remain in the database. So once you have done your changes over here, you can click on review. Let me change some information. I'll just add a new worker category maybe. You can review and submit. In the review page, it will show you exactly what changes you have done to the employee data. Okay. So in this page, you can see whatever was the previous value of the field and whatever you have added in the new value. So it will come as current value and the proposed value. Okay. So I have changed the worker category. In the current value, there is nothing, and in the proposed value, it is civil servant. So this is a page where you can take a printout. There is a printable page option, so you can take a printout of this before you submit, and then you can send it for approval. You can attach it in email to the concerned person you want the approval from, or if you have configured your approval list as desired, then here you can see to which approver it's going next. Sorry. Now, since we have set it as auto approval at the moment, so there is no approval. It goes to the same person who initiated. So this is the initiator and this is the next person. You can see the initiator and the next person are the same. That means this transaction is auto approved. Also, if you want to do some attachments with the approval, you can add it over here. You can see in the plus sign, you can add any document that you need. And then if you submit, this transaction will get recorded in the system. Sorry. So this was all about new employee creation and assignment changes. Even though it is just one screen, but majority of the discussion or majority of the complications happen over here in all the clients, and because this is what the HR people do almost all the time. Now, if you have any question on this employee creation and assignment changes, you can ask me. I know there are lot of different features available which will come as a part of case study. Somebody from the participants has requested me to give a case study. So after this session is over, I will share with you a case study scenario which you can work on. I'm not sure if this instance is accessible to everyone. So if you want, you can do it in this instance, or if you have any of your test instance available, you can try those case studies in them. So, and it's a case study, so each of you can do it in your own way. And then if you face any problems or if you have any questions, you can ask me. Okay, so this was all about the person and the assignment. We have seen how we can create an employee and how we can change the employee data. Now, next I will go a bit more back into the setup part. And then I will tell you about the sandboxes and customizations. Now, let me show you a few more details which I didn't mention during the person changes. Now, there was a question about the multiple nationalities. Now, once you open the person record, you go to the task screen. There are things like manage absence record, manage payroll information. You will come to know more about this when you do the payroll session and the absence session. Sorry. Manage person is important because from there you can modify the person information. Okay. So here you can see a lot of tabs: person information, contact information, document, disabilities, and extra information. Now, here, this particular screen, you can change your name, you can change your address, you can add new address, like home address or primary mailing address. Now, here also you can check with your client what kind of address type they need. You can configure only those type of addresses in the system. And in the email details, we didn't add any email. If you had added the work email and the personal email both would have come over here. You can change your personal email from this screen, but for changing your work email, you have to go back to the identity management screen. You can add your employee photo here. If you see this display photo option, you can click on edit. It will give you an option to add. So you can see a choose file, and the photo needs to be of a particular size or particular format in order to have the best possible resolution. I think it's 90 cross 120. That format should be there for having best resolution. When you start the implementation, you can check all these things with your client if they really want to upload the employee photos. So then you can tell their IT team to get the perfect resolution photo. If you are uploading photos in bulk, you can go and raise an SR with Oracle. They will help you with the upload. Now the next tab is contact. Now one more thing, let me tell you over here, any change you do in this screen, don't forget to submit, because if you don't submit, the information doesn't get saved in the database. This screen doesn't give you any alert to submit the information, because if you go to edit, then you can make your changes over here and click on OK. But most of the time we forget to submit this information, so you mandatorily need to click submit here. Now you go to contact details, you can add the dependent information. There are two options. You can create your dependents directly from here. So you can choose the contact type, and you can also put if he is an emergency contact or not. Now in this screen, there is an effective start date as well as there is a date of birth of the employee. Now what is important is that effective start date of the contact has to be either on the effective start date of the employee or on the birthday of the contact. So if the employee has a child who is born after the employee hire date, then the effective start date of the child has to be the same as the birth date of the child. So this is where a lot of time the validation fails, because if you open up the information, it will show you the latest effective start date, and if that is not same as the hire date or that is before the hire date, then there is a validation failure. So you have to be careful while entering information in this screen. If the employee has a dependent on the date of hire, then the effective start date can be same as the employee's date of hire. But if the dependent comes into picture later, like a child who was born after the date of hire, then the effective start date has to be the same as the child birth date or later than the child birth date. Also, if your spouse or your contact works in the same company as yours, then you can choose the contact from the existing person. Next is the documents. This is the citizenship. Now here it shows the citizenship information that we entered for this employee, and you can add multiple nationalities over here. If you see this plus symbol, you can use this symbol to add more than one nationality, and both of the nationalities can be active. You can add passport details over here. Now your passport and nationality ideally should be in sync. There is no validation given in this screen, but as a part of the HR practices, when you enter the passport details, your nationality should be in sync with your passport. So if you have an expired passport, you also should make the nationality as expired, just for the validation of the data. And if somebody has a new nationality where the passport is also changed, then you need to enter the new passport before entering the new nationality. You can put the driver's license, visas and permits over here. Now there are a lot of things that you can do in this screen. For example, in the visas, you can create new visa info, and if you choose the issuing country, then the visa details fields change as per the new country. So most of the time the client wants new fields in this screen. So you can go to the visa descriptive flex fields and then add information to this screen. Now, the documents of record, this is very much important. You can create documents like your like adoption form, application form, or the marriage certificate, and you can upload the copy here. Now, this particular list is actually configurable. So this is the list given by Oracle. They have given quite a lot of documents. You may not want all these documents, so you can either deactivate the documents over here, or if you remember yesterday when we were doing the security profile, there was a document type security profile. So you can create a security profile only to show those documents which are relevant to you, and you can add new documents of records here. So after I finish this, we will go to the setup and see the documents, how we can create a document. And here also you can use the attachment. So when you create a document of record, it has an option for attachment. Most of the time the HR use this for uploading the passport details and the Emirates ID copy of the employees. So it has document code, document issued on date, issuing authority, and then there is an attachment option. So you can choose a file and you can enter the details here. And as well, you can create descriptive flex fields or custom fields in this screen. You can enter disability details in the system. If it is allowed by your client to store disability in the system, then you can use this screen to enter the disability. Most of the time, the client doesn't reveal the disability details, so then there is no option to store it. But in some countries, the war veterans get some extra advantages, so you can choose the country here and then store the disability details, because many of the times the disability requires some work restrictions and that is audited. So you can enter the details here and put the work restrictions. And then there is something called extra information. Now, if you have come from an EBS background, you can understand that in EBS there was something like an SIT and an EIT available for the employees, where you can put extra information which is not available in any of the screens given by Oracle. So here in Fusion, the concept is a little different. We don't have SITs here. What we have here is extra information. Now this particular extra information field is available only for the HR to enter the details. So you can see on the left hand side there are certain extra information already available given by Oracle. You can create extra information links in this field, in this particular page, and you can have those as a links, as additional links here. So just as Oracle has given that the first link has generated these fields like community, custom drive, something like that, you can create your own information, own extra information, and add it to the person's screen. The only disadvantage of this is that this is not available to the employees. So just like SITs and all, we could have made it available in the self-service, we cannot do it here. Most of the time we use this extra information to store the health and safety details of the employee, or the health and safety incidents, work incidents, and grievances. Majorly this is used for grievances. You can create a link called grievance and then have the details in the fields. So this was all about the employee information. I will go to the setup a bit to explain a few things, and then we will see the employee and the line manager details. Whenever you cancel and you try to go from one screen to another, this warning comes up. Okay. So I will show you how to create the list of documents that we saw in the manage document types of the employees. The task name is manage document types. Okay. So now here you can search for the existing document types, or you can create new document types as well. So we saw that there was something like a birth certificate given by Oracle. I'll just open that. Okay, so these are the details that you can enter in the document type. You can have a type. You can specify whether the document is applicable for all the countries. You can specify a category also, category and subcategory, whether it's a legal document or category is personal. And then there is something called approval required. So when this document type employee can add to themselves as well. So when you allow the employee to add their birth certificates scan copies in the system or their passport scan copies, you can make the approval required as yes. So when they add it, it will go for approval to a particular HR or something. We'll see the approvals in a minute. Allow multiple occurrences means that you can have more than one type, more than one document for the same type, but birth certificate you can have only one. So I don't know why they allow multiple occurrences. And then there are attributes. So if you remember when we opened the birth certificate, over there it was asking for the document name, issuing country, issuing locations and all. You can use all of them, or you can use only the relevant ones that is applicable. You can uncheck the boxes which you don't want, and then you can make required if you want anything to be required. Yeah. Okay. Now similar way here you can create your own document types. So if you're creating some document for grievances, or let's say dependence birth certificate or marriage certificate, you can create it here. And then there is document type security profile. Document type security profile is used if you want the document to be available for, if you don't want some document types to be available to the employee. So when you create the document type security profile, you can disable some documents, enable or disable documents. So in the document type security profile, you can add, so you can choose the document type. For example, if you don't want this adoption to be available to your employees, you can choose the document type and choose exclude option so that it becomes excluded from the employee view. So as you saw, the list of the documents had got quite a lot. I think there are some 50 document types available which may not be relevant for your client. So you can use this document type security profile to exclude them from the view. Okay. And if you want to create custom fields in the document, there is document descriptive flex field. You can use that for this purpose. So anything else you want to know about this? Otherwise, I will go into the employee login just to show how it looks like from an employee details. I am just waiting to get a password reset for the employee. In the meantime, I'll show you a bit about the personalization. Okay. So for doing the personalization, you need to be either an IT security manager or you need to be an application administrator. Now for creating a sandboxes, doing personalization, you need to be in a sandbox. Sandbox are nothing but by using a sandbox, you make the personalization available only in the sandbox, because most of the time the personalization doesn't work as expected, and it creates a lot of problem in the system. So we use sandboxes to make sure that the personalization is working fine and we have tested it fully, and then we release the sandboxes or we publish the sandbox. So when we publish the sandbox, it becomes available to everybody. So the good thing the Oracle has done is from the release 8 onwards, it has given us sandboxes. So earlier, the personalization, whatever we do, was available to everybody. So we didn't have a chance to test the personalization, or like we didn't have a chance to roll back the personalization if it doesn't work fine. So in order to create a sandbox, you need to go to the manage sandboxes and create a sandbox. Now, when you get the list of customization or screen personalization that you need to do for your client, then you can do everything in one sandbox, or you can create sandbox for each of the screen, so that later on when you try to see which all customization if you have done, then you can refer to the sandbox by the sandbox name. So suppose we are doing something like we are changing the background color of the screen using this sandbox, or we are changing the company logo using this sandbox. So we can give a name like that. So a self-explanatory name for the sandbox. So I gave a sandbox name as change logo. Okay, so this sandbox has been created. Now in order to activate this sandbox, I have to select this and set as active. Now, this sandbox has been activated. That means that this particular employee with whom I have logged in, he is enabled to do personalization in this instance. This sandbox will be activated in this particular employee login only. So whenever some customization or personalization is done, that will be effective for this employee only. Now, if we are happy with the personalization and it's working fine as expected, then we can publish the sandbox. And if we do not want the personalization anymore, then we can exit the sandbox. The personalization will be revoked from the system. Now let's see how to change the logo. Sorry, I went to a different link. For changing the logo, you need to go to the appearance, under tools, appearance. So here you can see there is a link called logo. You can have a predefined logo. So Oracle's logo is actually predefined. So if we want our client's logo, we can go for a file or an URL option. So the best practice is you talk to the marketing or the branding team of the client and then get the logo from their server. So either they will give you an URL from the server, or they will give you a file. Now if you get a file, either you have to refer to the file, the server where the file is located, or you have to create a file path over here. So there is an option called spaces here where you can create and upload documents. So you can save the file there and get the link of the file from there. But it is best to refer to some server at the client end to get the file details. Also, you can change the background image. There are certain predefined background images given by Oracle. You can use your client's background image. So similar concept applies over here. You can use an URL for the background image, or you can use a file. You can change the background color. You can change the icon style. At the moment it is flat light. You can use matte or shiny. You can also change the icon picture. So if you have a different picture available, Oracle has got a lot of pictures available. If you have your own pictures of your client, then you can put it in the icons. And after you have done all your changes, you can apply and then it will become effective. Now, if you remember, I was talking about changing the link details, like changing the name of each and every menu option or sub-menu options that appears. For that, you need to go to the structure option. Here you can change the link names, or you can hide the links that you don't want. Or you can apply a particular type of security for the link. So I will just show you for one link. Under this About Me, if you have things like talent profile, career development and all, so if you want to change the name of the About Me to Myself, you can click on the link and you can change it here. And there is an option called visible yes or no and EL expression. Now if you do not want the icon to be at all appear into the springboard or in the navigator, you can choose it as no. And EL expression means that you want this icon to appear for a particular role. So if you don't want this icon to appear when an HR logs in or a line manager logs in, then you have to put it in the EL expression. There is a standard way of the EL expression. We have that code, so I can share the code with you. When I share all the documents, I can share it with you. Now here, if you want, for example, here the About Me is coming after My Team. So if you want to lift this About Me above the My Team, then you can use this move up and move down, these two options. Also, if you want to create new icons, you can use this create option. Create category, create page entity, all these options you can use. Most of the time the client wants the vacation rule icon to appear on the screen or on the landing page. Then you can create an icon, and there is a way to add that vacation rule. So you can add them and it will start coming on the landing page. This landing page is actually called the springboard, this particular icon. So on whatever you see on the navigator, like under About Me, you saw all these things. So all these things you can make it available on the springboard also. So for example, talent profile. Okay. So you can see the talent profile is visible on the navigator, but on the springboard there is an EL expression. So that's why it's not coming. So if you give yes as show on the welcome springboard, then you will start seeing it as an icon under the About Me in the springboard. Now this was all about the customization that you can do in the front page and the logo. Now if you want to do customization in some places like in the person management screen, you can do that as well, being inside the sandbox. For any customization, you have to be inside the sandbox. So let's say that when you go to the employment screen, you want the position field to be mandatory. This fusion screen, like this person management and employment screen, they have got quite a lot of information. Like there are a lot of bells and whistles in the screen, which many client doesn't like because they want to see exactly what is relevant to them. So when you do the CRP one, it is recommended that you hide all this information. Like for example, there are some information like bargaining unit, work tax addresses. These are relevant for US, not for Middle East. Then collective agreement, expenses information. If your client is not using I expenses, you can hide all this information completely. Then the screen will look more clean. Okay, so now in order to do a personalization on this screen, for example, I want to make the position field mandatory. So I have to go on the right hand top and go to customize pages. Now there are options. You can do the customization in different layers. You can do at site level, it will be applicable to everybody. You can do at the country level. So if you have legal entities in different countries, then it will be applicable to only the people of those countries. Then you can do it at the department level or the business unit level or legal entity level as well. So like if I do it on the site level, I will select site and click on OK. Remember, even if you choose site, since you are inside a sandbox, so until you publish the sandbox, that customization will be available only inside the sandbox. So it will be available only to that person's login. So suppose you have done a customization and if you want to show it to your client before taking a sign off to publish the sandbox, so you can activate the sandbox from that client's login and then take the sign off and then publish the sandbox for everyone. Okay, so see the screen carefully. All the customization is a bit tricky because most of the times some error happens in the customization and the page goes blank. Then you need to raise an SR with Oracle and get it fixed. So if you see on the left hand top, there is a view option. In order to do customization, you have to view the source because this is the design aspect of the customization. If you do source, then all the field inside details of the fields will be exposed. Now in the view phase, you can choose the source position. View source, you can choose the source position. At the moment, the source is at the bottom, but we feel more comfortable if the source is side by side with the page. So we can put the source on the left. Now the source has come to the left, but we have to move our screen to the right in order to reveal the source. So if you see carefully, there is a small collapse pane available. It's a small arrow. Click on that. This customization is not very easy because the moment you open this source, this whole screen becomes very much moving. So you touch any part of the screen and it just goes off. So you have to do it very carefully. Okay, so now I have managed to expose the source now. Now, the best option is that you have to go to the particular section of the page where you need to do the customization. Now I want to make the position mandatory, so I will go to the position and click on the position. It will ask for a confirmation that if I really want to edit this, I have to click on edit. Now on the left hand side, I will be able to see what is the source code for the position. You can drag this screen as much as you want. Okay, so now when you click on the position on the right left hand side, the field source will be highlighted, and then you can click on edit. So these are the options that you get for doing the customization. You can do a lot of things, like you can make the field read only, you can make the field required. So in order to make it required, you have to check this show required checkbox. And also, if you don't want to show, if you want to hide any field, you can uncheck this show component. Once you have done, you can click on apply, and this customization will be saved. Lot of time we come across requirements for some fields on which customization is not allowed. So if you click on the source for that field, you will see this edit button is disabled. So a lot of the time Oracle doesn't allow customization on many fields. Okay, so this was all about the customization, person and employment management. If you have any question, you can ask me. I will quickly log in as an employee and show you the employee self-service. Okay, so this is on employees login. Now you can see the options have changed. You are not able to see so many icons on the landing page or on the navigator. The navigator has become very small. It's only about me, and as well the tools and all are there. But my workforce, my team is not there because this person is just an employee. You will see the picture of the employee over here. Now this entire box on the left hand side of the screen, this is coming because of this social icon. If you remove social, then this will go off. Most of the time the client doesn't want all these things, because this gives the option to an employee to engage in this chatting activities with the clients using this social. So they can update this news feed. This is most like a Facebook. You can update the news feed and post, and your friends and the peers will be able to see them. You can post it to my wall, or you can post it to your friend's wall, so that they can be able to see your daily feeds, just like any social networking. So most of the time the client tells us the very first thing to remove the social link from the page. Okay, so the most important part is this about me. Now, one suggestion that I will give, once you go for implementation, please remove all these unnecessarily things from the system, like the time. If you are not implementing time and labor, you don't need this time. Configurator models are not applicable for the employee. You can remove them from the Springboard itself. Expenses, getting started and all, you can just remove this. Reports and analytics is not required for the employee. Schedule processes also you can remove. So most of the time for the about me, we keep goals, performance and my portrait. That's all. My account also you can remove, because my account gives them an option to request for a change in password or the change in account name. So the client most of the time doesn't want that. So I will go to my portrait. My portrait is like the self-service that we have in EBIS. Okay, so in the my portrait you can see I got a question, how do we remove that? You can remove that only through sandboxes. So removing menu, adding icons or removing icons from the Springboard, everything is possible when you are inside a sandbox. Okay, so you can see the employee photograph over here. From remember, this is an employee login. So if you click on the employee photo, the employee will be able to update his own photo. Now, most of the companies doesn't want this. They don't want the employee to update their own photo, because they can put some invalid photo as well. So they request to disable this click on the employee photo. There is setup steps available for that. If any of you are doing that kind of implementation, you can get those from our best practices. You can contact me or Vidya will let you know how to do that. There are huge number of activities that needs to be done on the screen, and the requirement can be different from client to client. It is not possible to summarize everything in one session. So we have the knowledge and the methods with us. You can let us know if you need this. Now, under the photo, there are things like job, departments, manager, and hire date. This manager information that comes over here has to be definitely the line manager. Any other manager, you can have more than one type of manager, they will not come over here. And that is the reason Oracle allows only one line manager in the system, because this screen cannot hold more than one line manager information. Okay. You can also hide things from here, and you can add things here. Sometimes the client want to show department, location, as well as the business unit of the employee in this particular region. You can enable them through customization. So if you get inside a sandbox and go into this area, you will see that business unit, location, and a lot of other things are available. You can hide things or you can add things as well. Then there is actions available. Actions are the things that employee can do with himself. You can view his own pay slip, total compensation statement. Manage absence record is for applying leaves. Then he can change his marital status. Changing marital status should be ideally subject to approval. So when you learn about the BPM, you can understand how you can set approval for this change marital status. Then there is find best fit jobs and best fit person. Most of the time the employee aspires to go for a new job, like he wants to see what all jobs are available in the company and how he can be a best fit to that job. So if you have configured your job profiles correctly in the system, I mean, if you remember when we were talking about the setup of jobs and the attributes, there were job profile. So job profile can have competencies, and the employee will also have competencies assigned to him. So if the job profile competency and the employee's competency matches, then there is 100% fit to the job. And if it doesn't match, or if it partially matches, then it will give you a percentage fitment to the job. So the employee can understand that if I aspire for this job, how much fit I am as per my competency to the job. Similarly, you can find the best fit person. So best fit person is that to a particular job, how much fit is one person. So actually this gives an access for an employee to see the competency of his peers. So if you are a line manager, you can actually see your direct reports, how much they are fit to another job, which is different from their current job. So we get requirements to hide all these things from the employee's portrait, because in a way you are exposing your job as available and the competency available to your company, to the people. It should be made available only through the HR, not directly to the people. But again, it depends on the client's requirements. If the client is too much open, then they may allow these things to exist on the portrait. Then manage documents of record. Manage document of record is the same thing that we saw from the HR login. It's available to the employee. So you can create a document here, and if you have configured your approvals correctly, it will go for approval to the HR. This is where you can actually relate this to your SIT thing in the EBs. So in EBs, there are a lot of ways in which the employee can talk to the HR or to the super users. So he can use SITs, and there could be a lot of information inside that which he can send for approval. But here the only way the employee can talk to the HR through the system is using this document of records. So we have used this for things like letter request. So very common requirement for every client is the letter request. So the employee may request for a salary certificate or any other letter, because many a time in the Middle East, they don't have a proper payslip, online payslip in the legacy. So they do letter requests for all these things. So you may use this managed document of record for a document type called salary certificate or letter request. And then you can configure the different types of letter in the document types. And in the fields of the document type, you can configure the details of what kind of letter they need, or who is the concerned person for the letter. Sometimes they need a letter for the visa or the letter for the embassy. So then you can create the fields accordingly, where the employee can input the information. Manage personal contribution is for the stock markets. I mean, if you have stocks and benefits configured on your system, the employee can use this. Manage user account. Here employee can see the details of his user account, his username, and what all roles he is assigned to, and he can request for new roles. Now, if you remember when we were configuring the role auto provisioning, there was one option for the requestable role. So if you do not mark that role as self-requestable, the employee will not be able to find that role here. Most of the time we remove this, because addition of role should be strictly an function available only for the IT team or the security team. Manage personal payment method is for the bank details of the employee. So in your payroll session, you will come across all these things. So employee can add his own bank details. Information sharing, this is a useful feature. Employee can share his own information, like his personal details, his job details, with external as well as internal people. So most of the time, if we request for a bona fide letter from the HR, like what kind of job we are doing, what is our salary, and we need that letter for the bank or the mortgage. Now, if you use this information, then you can actually share these details with a third party or somebody outside your company. Oracle has given this feature, but almost all the times the 100% of the clients request to remove this information, because they don't like the employees to share the information without approval. So if you can see the recipient type here could be internal or external. Internal could be anybody within the company. If you do an internal sharing, the information will be available to the internal person until you revoke the access. If you do an external sharing, then it will ask you for the email address of the recipient. And you can also specify the number of days or the number of visits the person can do to your information. After that particular day, that link will become inactive. This is for the external recipient. For internal, the information will remain available until you revoke it explicitly. We have never used this thing for any of our clients. So whatever we saw in the actions here are also available in the form of the portrait cards. So you have activities and interests where you can specify about me. It's just like any other social networking. You can specify, you can write about yourself, you can specify your area of interest. This information can be viewed by your peers as well as your line managers, like anybody in the company. Then you can put bookmarks. You can, if you go to the availability card, it will show you your availability calendar. Then if you are entitled to any benefits plan, you can see it in the benefit cards. We are planning to do a benefit session as well. There, if you have configured your benefits module fully, then only you can see information in this card. Then the career planning section, you can see your career developments, like you can have your career path, career statement and career preferences. Career statement is just nothing like, it is just a free text. You can put your career statement here, which can be viewed by your HR and your peers. Under the compensation card, you can see your salary. There is no salary given to this employee, that's why it's not showing anything. One thing about this screen is, like here, by default, it shows your salary as well, it shows your salary range. So most of the time the client wants to hide the salary range. The salary range comes in this part of the screen on the right hand side of the screen. So they suggest to hide that section because they don't want the employees to see the salary range. Also, it shows the grade. A lot of the companies do not want the employees to know their grade because there is a great difference between the sales and the non-sales people. So sales people do not necessarily need to know their grade. So they need to, they tell you to hide the grade from everywhere from the employee view. Is the communication method. You can see your work and home email. You can add your home email from this screen, but for the work email, you have to contact the security team if you have a change in the work email. Necessarily, your work email remains the same until you're ended. Then you have development and growth card. This career planning and development and growth, these two are related to performance management module. So here you have competency gaps. So competency gaps are necessarily your competency and your performance competency. So your competency comes from the job competency or the profile competence, the position competency that you are attached to. And once your performance appraisal happens, then you see your achieved competencies. Or you can see the performance goals over here. And if your performance review has happened, then you will see your ratings here. Then you have experience and qualifications. Now here you have skills and qualification. This is important because this is another place of storing information. You need to create profile contents for each of these qualifications and all. So if you configure this properly, you will see your skills, qualification, your languages known, and your competencies in this screen. Then you have kudos. Kudos is like a brownie point that somebody can give you. If this is applicable, this information is accessible to the line manager and the HR only. You as an employee cannot give kudos to your peers. In the payroll card, you can see the pay slips, as well as you can see your net payment and the bank details. And then the user account details, exactly the same thing that you saw in the user account on the actions. And this is the grid view of the details. You can see on the system right hand side. If you see, you can see another view as well. You can see the carousel view of the system. So same information will come as a pictures in a flat screen like this. Now what happens is, the interesting thing is, if the client tells you to hide a portrait card, like if they want you to hide this about activities and interest card, if you hide it from here, it doesn't get hidden from the other view. So you have to be careful, you have to hide them from both. This becomes tricky when you do the salary information hiding. So if you hide the salary information from the portrait cards, it remains visible above over here. So you have to go to the other display and then hide it from there as well. And then at the bottom of the screen, there is something called organization chart. This is important because if you go to the organization chart, you can do see a hierarchical information of the your peer and your line manager. So since this employee is just an employee, he is not a line manager, he doesn't have a direct report, he can see only him and his line manager in the organization chart. If this person is a line manager, then he can see a full organization chart over here. And for seeing the organization chart, you have to necessarily be a line manager. One of the good things that Oracle has done in Fusion is giving a good view of the org chart. So it's recommended that you use the line manager information. I mean, if you populate the line manager information for the employees. Now, if I log in as a line manager, then you will be able to see more details in the screen. Okay, so once you log in as the line manager, you will see a few more things. You will see my team, about me. So my team is the one from where you can see your entire team's compensation, talent, and career development. So as a line manager, you get this extra link here. Now, only one thing I want to show here, that is your the org chart. So for seeing the org chart, you need to go to Manager Resources Dashboard. Okay. So here you can see ideally, if you go to this part of the screen, you should see the workers under the line manager. I'm not sure why it's not coming. I'm not able to expand the link. Well, I think this is not a manager. Let me go to another manager. I think there is a problem with the information here. Just give me some time. I'll just stop sharing my screen. I will change the details and get back. Hi, sorry for the trouble. Actually, there are two duplicate employees with the same username, so I'm not able to get to the right employee. I tried a bit, but it didn't happen. So what I'll do is, since I'm already running late with the session, I'm 30 minutes, I've taken 30 minutes more than the time. So I will do another session next week because I have also, I need to show you the approval management, the BPM work list and all. So that time I'll show you the manager's login because I need to work on the logins of it. I couldn't finish it now. So the pending things is the reports as well, the approval management. So when I will do the report session next week, I'll show you the approval management and this one as well, the manager's login. So I've finished with my session today. So if you have any questions, you can ask me, or you can let me know over email as well. Okay, so if there's no question, I'll just end this session for today. And thank you all for attending. See you next week again.